Sir, we are live now. Please start.
Thank you so much, Balaji. So good evening, friends. Thanks a lot for taking the time to be with us today. And I hope and wish that you and your loved ones are doing well and staying safe. My name is Rajeev, and I lead something called Employee Experience for the IBM India Software Labs. And in my role, I am responsible for business operations, eminence, skill building, and engagement within the lab. 21 years ago, when I joined IBM, I remember attending an orientation session. And in that session, one of our senior leaders came and addressed us. And while there were lots of learning for us to take away from that session, he said something that has stayed on with me. He said that wherever you go with your career or whatever heights you reach, always have the humility to know that you will never have all the answers. All that you can bring to the table are your experiences and your learning. And with that humble notion, what I'm going to do with is basically share what I have learned, the lessons I have learned from my managers, from my leaders, mentors, peers, colleagues, friends, my own experiences, and also the mistakes that I have made during the course of my career. We are in midst of what is being called by experts as the double disruption. At one end, we are at the intersection of a lot of data that's available, high computing power to process that data, and intelligent machine learning algorithms. And that is going to cause a lot of mundane and repetitive tasks to be automated. And this transformation is only getting accelerated due to the onset of the COVID pandemic. And we also know that this disruption is something that's going to continue. But what everybody agrees to is the fact that as we step into the future, human skills will become more and more important. And in this 1 hour, what I'll attempt to do is share with you those human skills that I believe were important when I joined the organization all through my career, and I believe will become even more important as we step into the future. Let me start with a story. When I was in the high school, I remember going up on stage for a debate competition. When I saw the sea of crowd, the sea of faces, I panicked and I froze on the stage. I stood there on the stage for a few seconds and stepped down after a little while without saying a word. As I walked away from the stage, I could hear the audience booing and calling out names and making fun of me. And at that point in time, I decided that I will never, ever go up on the stage again. A couple of months later, I saw my name being put up on the school notice board as a nomination for an inter-school debate competition. Now, I was very upset. This was something that my English teacher had put up. So I went to the staff room, I confronted my English teacher and I said, "Ma'am, you know I am a failure in public speaking, so why put up my name?" And she smiled and said, "Rajiv, remember always that your faith has to be bigger than your fears. Your faith has to be bigger than your fears." She coached me for the debate competition for the next 2 weeks. I went ahead and won the debate competition. But what's more important is that I got my self-confidence back. Now, why am I telling you this story? Each of us in our lives has experiences that create limitations, limiting beliefs in our minds about our capabilities of what we can do and what we cannot do. And those self-limiting beliefs become our comfort zone. In leadership circles, this is called the elephant mindset. So if you have seen elephants, they are tied with a small rope to a wooden peg. And if the elephant wanted, it could just nudge and come out of that rope. It can break that rope and come out. But the elephant doesn't do that. And it doesn't do that because when the elephant was a calf, the baby elephant is also tied with the same rope. And the baby elephant makes all the efforts to break that rope, but it cannot, because at that point in time, it doesn't have enough strength to be able to break out of the rope. And it grows up with the belief that the rope is too strong for it. And that's something that we as human beings also cultivate as limitations in our mind, self-limiting beliefs. Coming out of, as we get into corporate world, as you begin to look at starting your own venture, or you want to go abroad to pursue further studies, we need to remember that the magic of learning, the magic of growth, the magic of success happens outside of our comfort zones. And to be successful in our careers and in life, we will need to make a conscious effort to step out of our comfort zone. Now, that's not going to be easy. It's a painful process, but it begins by becoming comfortable with the uncomfortable. So my first message for all of you is that step out of your comfort zone, challenge the limitations of your mind, and make a conscious effort to experience the magic of learning and growth that happens outside of your comfort zone. My second message is about beginner's mindset. What is beginner's mindset? Simply put, a beginner's mindset is approaching anything with an open mind and no preconceived notions, just like a beginner would do. And there are 4 attributes of the beginner's mindset. The first one is humility. Beginner's mindset is the graceful acceptance that we all have the opportunity to learn from others, learn from failures, learn from our experiences, and apply this learning going forward. Adaptability. We all know that technology skills today have a very short shelf life. By the time you have mastered a technology, learned the ropes of it, it has changed. There's something that's new come up. And you will have to again invest time in learning something new. Beginner's mindset is also cultivating the mindset of a continuous learner. We will have to accept the fact that we will have to learn, unlearn, and relearn as we go forward. The third aspect of beginner's mindset is curiosity. It all begins with a question. A lot of times, the questions we ask are more important than the answers we find. Albert Einstein once famously said that I have no special talent. I'm just passionately curious. So developing curiosity, developing the habit of asking questions, questioning the status quo is an integral aspect of beginner's mindset that we will need to cultivate. And the last aspect of beginner's mindset is feedback, making a conscious effort to ask for feedback about how we are doing as we progress. But at the same time, be open and willing to accept constructive feedback without getting defensive about it. Now, the picture that you see there is a picture we clicked 4 or 5 years back when we were running a hackathon. And there is this elderly gentleman who had just retired from his job, who came up and said, I want to also code and learn from the developers who are here and learn how coding happens, how the approaches to development happen. And I will be able to share with the developers my own experience from the field. This, in my opinion, is a true example of somebody exhibiting beginner's mindset, the willingness to learn and continue to learn. So my second advice from what I have learned in my experience is to always have the learner's mindset, always be willing to learn and learn from everybody, circumstances, failures, all avenues that are available for you to learn, make the best use of it and have the mindset to learn. The third aspect is patience. Now, we are a generation that is used to instant gratification. We get things quickly. Information is at the tip of our fingers. We can go to Google, we can ask Alexa, we can order stuff and it'll come right the next day. So we are all a generation that's used to things happening very quickly. And what happens as a result of this is we become impatient when we don't see the kinds of outcomes or results in a particular span of time. In real life, a lot of things that are meaningful, a lot of things that give fulfillment and joy, they take time and they take patience. Whether it is a relationship, whether it is doing a project that is a long-term project and has some key deliverables and big significant impact at the end of the day, all of these don't happen on a jiffy. We need to invest time. We need to go through the various milestones and be patient to be able to see the result at the end of the day. Patience is a quality, and which means that when we pick up something big, we pick up something that's important and pick up something that is meaningful to us, we will have to go through all the milestones and invest wholeheartedly in each of these milestones and be willing to wait for the outcome to happen instead of having a sense of instant gratification and saying this has to happen now and not quickly. So patience is a virtue that I believe as we go ahead in times which are unpredictable, and is an important quality for all of us to contain. So this is the advice number 3. Cultivate patience and realize that things in the real world, important things, take time, take patience. The next piece of advice I have is to develop social intelligence. Social intelligence is about connecting with people, communicating with people, and collaborating with people. And it has various attributes. And one of the attributes that's much cliched is empathy. Empathy is our ability to put ourselves in other person's shoes and be able to feel what the other person is feeling. We have in the COVID times seen that empathy is a very important trait for us to be able to connect with our peers, with our families, with people in the social circles. Empathy sometimes does not mean that we, in a conversation, have to agree with what the other person is saying, but it is the willingness to understand and put ourselves in the other person's shoes in that conversation. That is what is important. When we have been on a lockdown mode for many months now, and we recently did a poll to ask people, what's that one thing that they're missing because they're not in office? And most of the people predominantly said that they are missing those in-person conversations, those meetings over coffee or lunch, bumping into each other at an office floor. Those social interactions that happen in person is something that people are missing. Now, we have had a whole generation of people who have joined us in the last year and a half, who have probably not seen an office, probably have not met people. A lot of times, we are able to work in a virtual environment because over a period of years, we would have built what is called the social capital. We know each other for a long time. We have met each other before. And that helps us basically carry business, carry conversations, carry interactions, even in the virtual world. What will become key is our ability to develop meaningful relationships in the virtual world at a time where you may not have the luxury of meeting people in person. How do you develop that connect, that trust, that camaraderie in the virtual world, or the limited interactions that you will have in the real world? Is a skill, is an attribute, it's a mindset that we will need to develop. I also want to talk about abundance mindset. Now, abundance mindset is making sure that if you have, a lot of times we think that if we have to win, there's somebody else who needs to lose. I was playing over a weekend snakes and ladders with my 8-year-old son. And as he was approaching the finish line, he was very close to winning and he was about to roll the dice. I just casually said, I hope you get a snake so that you slide down and I have an opportunity to go up. And my son said, Papa, instead of wishing a snake for me, why don't you wish a ladder for yourself? And that was a lesson I carried away, because abundance mindset means that we look for win-win situations. We look at options where we can work with people and everybody has an opportunity to benefit from this. So in the corporate world, as when you get into the corporate world, it's important for us to be able to build meaningful relationships. A lot of times people ask me, what's the advice that you would give us as soon as when I'm entering the corporate world? And one of the advices I always give them is invest time in building these meaningful relationships, because when the chips are down, these are the relationships. These are the people who will stand by you. These are the people who will support you. These are the people you will talk to for help, for conversations. So invest time in building these meaningful relationships. The last point on social intelligence that I wanted to bring about was about cultural intelligence. We are getting into a world which is a remote world, which means that teams of today and more so teams of tomorrow will be diverse teams. You will have teams across the geographies. You will work with people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different opinions, different generations. And you will need to develop the cultural intelligence to be able to appreciate these diverse viewpoints and work with these diverse people across the different teams, across the different thought processes, across different geos, to be successful, to keep our biases aside and develop the empathy and the cultural intelligence to be able to work with a diverse set of people. I think so is going to be a very key skill, which essentially means that you will have to become a digital citizen, a global citizen. And that is one key skill that will be required as we get into the future. The next piece of advice that I have is to develop creativity. Creativity is about being able to bring diverse opinions to the table, able to look at a situation from different angles, the ability to connect the dots. And creativity is just not thought. Creativity, it's just not good enough if you are bringing an idea to the table. There is an action part to creativity. You should be able to translate that idea into an outcome, because an idea without an outcome is just imagination. Creativity is about bringing a fresh idea to the table and also be able to convert that into a tangible outcome. And how do we build creativity? We build creativity by asking questions, the what if questions, looking at how things are done, questioning the status quo and asking ourselves, is this the best way to do it? Is there a different way of doing it? The second thing that is important from a creativity perspective is not to jump to conclusions. So when you have an idea, when you see an option, not negate that idea at the first instant or accept, but look at other options, not jumping to conclusions, is quickly and deciding on some sort of an outcome based on what you've seen first time. That is, again, an important attribute to develop creativity. But the most important aspect of creativity is the ability to take calculated risks. You will have to be able to take those risks to experiment with those ideas and be okay with failing with those ideas, because in each of the ideas that you experiment with and you fail, you're only going to learn. So creative thinking is a very important trait, because as we begin to work with machines and a lot of mundane and repetitive tasks get automated, we will move up to higher order work functions that require creativity and being able to bring creative insights to the table. I believe that in the organizations that we have today, we are looking for a lot of people who have creative skills. And all of you who are about to start their corporate journey will have an excellent opportunity to look at existing processes, look at the ways things have been done so far, and ask the question to say, if this is the right thing to do, is there an alternative way of doing, and bring your creative ideas, because it's a much valued skill in the corporate world. Just on the left side of the picture, you see something which is called the Dunker's candle problem. And it's an example of out-of-box thinking and why is it important? So this is a famous psychology problem that was done by a psychologist called Dunker many, many years back. And the problem is very simple. You are called into a room. There is a table that is put aside, a wall which is a wall with a cork board. You're given a candle, you're given a box of pins, and you have some matchsticks. And the problem that you need to solve, or the activity you need to complete, is putting the candle on the wall, lighting it up, and making sure that the wax does not melt and drip on the table. Now, a lot of people, when they approach this problem, they try basically pinning the candle to the wall using the pins. Some of them also try and melt a part of the candle and try and use that as a glue. But the way to solve this problem, and eventually people figure out, is to use the box in which you get the pins and stick it to the wall and then use that as a holder for the candle. Now, when the solution is presented, it looks very obvious. But a lot of people don't get it the first time. And they don't get it the first time because the human mind is used to look at the obvious. A skill that will be a differentiating skill and required for the future is our ability to look, think out of the box, look at various options, and look beyond the obvious. And that's a quality that you will all need to cultivate as we go forward. Okay. When you work, as you work through your career, you will have the opportunity to interact with many people at various points of your career. There will be some people who will value you for who you are and what you bring to table. They will be the people who will cheer you up when you're down. They will applaud you when you do well. They are the people who will motivate you. They are the people who will encourage you to pursue your dreams and challenge any circumstances that are stopping you from achieving your dreams. These are the positive people who will laugh with you. These are the people with whom you can share whatever is on your mind. And you'll also work, or you will also interact with people who are naysayers. These are people who will find a problem in every solution. These are people who will pull you down, who will be always complaining. And these are the people who will sap you and drain you of your energy. These are the people who will bring you down, who will demotivate you. In our careers, it is important that we have the wisdom to be able to differentiate these two kinds of people, or these two categories of people, and make an attempt to cultivate meaningful relationships with the people who are the positive people, who uplift us, and have the courage to delete the people. And I use the word delete consciously, the people who are the negative people, because the negative people will steal your joy. They will bog you down. They will drain you out. It's important for us to make sure that we surround ourselves with people who are positive people, who encourage us, and who will help us become the best version of ourselves. In the same regard, the other important thing that I wanted to talk to you about is the importance of having mentors, career mentors. A mentor is a guide. A mentor is like a GPS system who knows where you want to go, what your destination is, and will help you find the best way to get to your destination. Mentors are trusted advisors You can go to them for advice at any point in time for any topic. You can trust them, with their advice. They are also soundboards. If you have ideas, you can discuss those ideas with them. They are like mirrors. They will give you honest feedback that will help you improve yourself. They are also sponsors and connectors. They will connect you to various opportunities, to different people, which will help further your career. I have personally benefited a lot with some amazing mentors throughout my career journey who have provided me guidance all through along. And whatever little I may have achieved, a lot of that I owe to the support of my mentors in all my career. So one of the best investments that you can make for yourself is to find mentors across your career journey. You could have one mentor, you could have many mentors, you could have mentors within your team. How to find a mentor is a very different topic, but I would strongly urge that having a mentor is one of the best things you could do for yourself, and it's a very important attribute, a very important support as we move forward in our career. Okay, I also want to talk about attention management. We live in a world of distractions. We have to switch between so many channels on TV. We may be in a meeting and we are tempted to probably look at our mobile to see if that message that we're waiting for has come. There are lots of choices, lots of distractions. Anything that we have to do, which is creative, requires us to be focused. And the ability to understand our distractions and the ability to manage these distractions is an important skill. And a related topic to that is the topic of communication. When we talk of communication, we always think of how best we can speak, how best we can present. But an important aspect of communication is our ability to listen. Listen with attention, listen actively. A lot of times when we get into the conversation, we are distracted, we are not paying attention, or we are looking or we're listening with an intent to respond. We've already made up our mind on what should be the outcome of the discussion. We are looking for an opportunity to interrupt. Listening and the ability to listen attentively is important for two reasons. One is when you're paying attention to what somebody is saying. It could be a professor talking on a class. It could be you having a one-on-one conversation. You are able to grasp the context. You're able to grasp the content of the conversation or what you're talking about. You're always going to miss a lot of crucial details if you're not paying attention, if you're not bringing in whole self to the conversation. But the other aspect, which is a more important aspect, is when we are in a conversation and you're not giving the attention that in that conversation to the other person, you're not respecting the other person who is wanting to convey a message. And as a result of that, you will not be able to build the trust and the connect and the camaraderie with the person you're talking to. And the trust that you're able to build in these relationships is a key it's a key thing, it's a key enabler for everything that we do. So attention management, our ability to manage the distractions, our ability to find those times where we can be focused and basically do creative stuff, but more importantly, develop an ear for active listening, develop empathy when we are talking to people. Again, is something that I would encourage all of you to focus on. Resilience, and if you're wondering why I have a cricket ball there, I usually tell a story, which is Harsha Bhogle's favorite cricketing story about resilience. So the Marwan Attapattu, the Sri Lankan cricketer, when he debuted for Sri Lanka, he scored a 0 in the first innings, and he scored a 0 in the second innings. So he was dropped promptly. So he went back to the nets. He played a lot of first-class cricket, and he got a call back again to the team 21 months later. So he comes to the match, and guess what? He scores a 0 in the first inning, and he scores a 1 in the second inning, and he's again dropped. So he goes back to the grind again. He practices. He again goes back and plays test cricket, scores a lot of runs there. And after 17 months, he gets a call again. He comes back to the test match, and he scores a 0 in the first inning, and he scores a 0 in the second inning. And the commentators jokingly say that at least he's not keeping the scorekeepers busy. He's consistent with his scores. Now imagine the state of mind of Marwan Atapattu. He's tried a couple of times. He seems to be doing well in first-class cricket, but whenever he's coming back, he's just not making the cut. And he knows that he's going to be dropped again, and he is dropped the next day. And he again goes back, works on what he thinks are the flaws, improves his game, scores first-class test runs, and then again gets a call for the Sri Lankan team. And this time, he scores tons of runs, and the rest is history. Resilience is about not giving up. Resilience is looking at failure after looking at failure and then moving ahead, moving on. Resilience is not quitting. And as you get into unpredictable times, resilience is a very important attribute. All of us in some time in our lives are going to see failure. If you're not seeing failure, it means we are not trying enough. And when you see failure, when you are down in the drums, it's okay for you to vent for a while, feel bad. But again, how do you gather yourself up again and move forward is resilience. And that's a quality we should try and cultivate. The other aspect of resilience is the ability to see opportunity in adversity. A lot of times when we have problems, there are a set of people who see constraints and say why something cannot be done. But a lot of people who are resilient would look at it and say, is there something that I can see as an opportunity in these adversity? Can I think of something to use the failure, use the adversity to do something new, which is an opportunity? So resilience is an important trait. I'm sure all of us have experienced setback or failure at some point in time, but picking ourselves up, not quitting, not giving up, and then learning from the mistake, learning from the failure, and then seeing how we can use that as a stepping stone for success in the future is an attribute that we should all focus on. I want to talk about courage, and I will not talk about courage in terms of somebody taking up a big challenge, a difficult task, going all out against odds, and making something happen. Yes, that is courage. I want to talk about subtle aspects of courage. Courage is also accepting our vulnerabilities. Courage is making mistakes, and courage is accepting mistakes. Courage is knowing that it is okay to ask for help. Courage is trusting people. Courage is trusting people that they will do the things right. The courage is able to delegate. Courage is okay to give credit to people. There are lots of these subtle aspects of courage that we usually don't associate the term courage with. We are moving into a world where hierarchies are going away. And there is the whole aspect of what is called the servant leadership, where the command and control of somebody being at the helm and giving directions and everybody following, that world is going away, and it's going away fast, which means that each of us has the opportunity to be a leader, to raise our hands, to make a difference. In the last 2 years of what I have seen in COVID, some of the best leaders who have jumped in and been able to help, volunteer, and make a difference were not people who had designations or roles or big posts. These were ordinary people with extraordinary courage, and they did not come with a know-it-all attitude. They were okay to ask for help. They acknowledged when things didn't work. They admitted that, they learned from that, and they moved on. But the other aspect of courage, and I think it's an important thing for all of us to know, is to have a purpose-driven courage. In your life, in your career, there will be many times where you will have to make the decision between an easy thing and the right thing. And I hope all of you will have the courage to do the right thing, even if it is the most difficult option on the table. Courage to be authentic, courage to be true to your values and your moral compass. When you do that, you will earn the trust of your peers, you will earn the trust of the people who work with you, and you will earn the trust of the teams that you work for. So be fearless and understand that it is courage and vulnerability go together, which means that it's okay not to be okay sometimes. It's okay to ask for help. It is okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from those mistakes. It's okay to admit mistakes. And all of that requires courage. But the most important form of courage is for all of you to be very true to yourself or whatever is your value system and have the courage to stand by it, however difficult that choice may be. The last 2 points, and this is, I want to share a personal story, a personal experience when I talk about life versus making a living. When I joined IBM and I moved to Bangalore, my mother would come every year to Bangalore to spend some time with me. And every year she came, she would ask me to take her to Sri Salem, which is a place close by to Bangalore. And every year I would tell her that, Amma, busy this year, we will do it next year. It happened 6 years, 6 times. The 7th time when she came, she fell sick. We had to admit her to the hospital and we lost her. On that day in the hospital, I was willing to trade all the awards, all the achievements, all the accolades for that one opportunity to take my mother to Sri Salem. When you get into your corporate career, it's very easy and it happens, and it happens to everybody, for us to get sucked into the monotony of the daily grind. We get busy. We were looking at growth. We're looking at money. We are looking at competition. And while making a living, somewhere we forget to live life. If I could change one thing and go back in time and change one thing in my 21 years of career, I would probably live these 21 years very differently. So spend time in things that you like to do and with people you love. Spend time with family, spend time with friends, read that book, make that trip, learn that musical instrument. Don't put off things to later on saying, this is a time where I have to make my career and I will always have time for those little things that I like to do that are close to my heart. I can always do those later. I have made that mistake at the start of my career, and it's a balance. While it's important for you to focus on your career, take time, steal time, make time for life. And life is about people. Life is about things that are close to your heart. So that's a personal message, but I wanted to leave you with that message because that's one thing I feel if I could change in my life, I would certainly do that. I'll come to the last point of what I wanted to share with you all. And this is about finding purpose. Ikigai is a Japanese term, and it means the reason to be. It's about know what do you love? What does the world want from you? And know what will the world pay for? And what are you good at? But essentially, it's about finding your purpose. It's about finding your passion. And different people will have a different view about finding purpose, finding passion. Um, the way I have always looked at purpose is that purpose for me has never been something big, a one-time thing, something earth-shaking. Purpose for me is asking myself three questions every day. Uh, did I learn something new today? Did what I do make a difference to somebody? Did it add value? And what made me smile? A lot of times we think that we will find a purpose in life, which is something big, which will change the world. But for me, purpose is about those little things that we do every day, but we do them consistently. Purpose is also about being able to see what you do, how it connects to something bigger. So if you're writing code and you start to think about how this code is going to be used in a banking system, in railways, or in a big customer scenario, big customer application, you will begin to look at what you do very differently. And that's a way you will need to start to think about whatever you're doing. How is it making a difference? How is it connecting to the bigger picture? Passion, a lot of people say we should follow our passion. I've never followed my passion, but I've invested in my passion. I've always wanted to do teaching. I couldn't become a teacher or a professor, but whenever I get time or opportunity, I make a conscious attempt to be able to go and teach, interact, and that's what keeps me motivated. And I believe purpose will unravel itself. There is this emotional GPS within us that will tell us, that this is what is the purpose of the passion, and you will get to know. It's not going to be something that you will discover when you want it. I think it will unravel itself. We should allow it to be unraveling itself to us, and we will know when that happens. But find something that is purposeful every day, and find time to invest in what you're passionate about every day. And at some point in time, it will come to you automatically. The second part of the whole career discussion I wanted to talk about is to look at career as a journey, not a destination. I've always believed that there is one life journey and there's one career journey. You may change roles, you may change teams, you may change companies, but your career is just one, and it's one long journey. And in that one long journey, you're going to have several milestones. And it's important for you to be able to celebrate those milestones, focus on the journey, just not the destination. Because when you reach to where you want to reach, and when you complete a project, when you complete a milestone, and when you look back, it is these little milestones and the celebrations of these milestones, the people you work with in these milestones, those are the things that will make you smile. Success is also a journey, because a lot of us think we will be happy if I get that promotion, if I get that hike, if I get to be able to join that company that I've always dreamt to be, and I'll be happy then. But it's human nature. When we get to there, when we get what we want, there's something else that we want, and we think that's going to make us happy. And happiness and success becomes a moving goalpost. To be mindful of being happy at each achievement that you're having, celebrating that is what will give you true joy. And that's something I have experienced, and that's something that I've learned and unlearned the hard way. So look at your career as a journey, just not a destination. The destination is important because it tells us where you want to go, but look at it as a journey and celebrate each of the milestones that you have in the journey. The last part I wanted to talk about is bringing your best self. Whatever you do, give it your best shot. Do it with enthusiasm. Give it your 110%. Because when you do that, there are people who will take notice, and you will get the opportunities, for the next level. When you do your best, when you give your best, even if you are doing something that at that point in time is something you don't like, you should always give it your best shot. Which means also the little things. Things like being on time, things like responding to things on time, being early to meetings sometimes. So whatever you do, give it your best self. Let the world see the best version of yourself. So in terms of career, I think purpose, journey, bringing your best self, I think are three things that I believe are something that I have learned, and is a message that I wanted to leave you with. So this is all I had. This is a quote that I love. I started with the example of an elephant mindset. The elephant mindset about how all of us have no limitations in our mind, self-limiting beliefs, that constant chatter that tells us, "No, maybe I'm not good enough. I can't do this because no, I have tried it before and I have failed." And I like this quote because apparently when Edmund Hillary, where the first man to climb Mount Everest, he tried it a few times before, and when he couldn't succeed, apparently he said that I will come again and conquer you, because as a mountain you can't grow, but as a human I can. So everything that we want to do, we wish to do, I believe that as we have the potential, if we just believe, to make those changes, whether it is changing habits, whether it is challenging self-limiting beliefs, whether it is rising up from a failure. I think the human will is something that is powerful, that's amazing, and that will allow you to do that if you truly believe. So I wanted to leave you all with this quote, because we all have the opportunity to outgrow our limitations, our setbacks, and look further into our journey. This is my last slide. This is a Mark Twain quote. So all of you who are making a new beginning, some of you must already be in job, some of you must be in college preparing for something big, join a corporate world, somebody starting their own venture, somebody wanting to go abroad and study. But for all of us, if I had to summarize the essence of my journey, I will say that when you look forward 20 years, you'll be disappointed by the things you didn't do. This is a very famous Mark Twain quote. So give your dreams a chance, give yourself a chance, and don't let negativity, don't let setbacks, don't let experiences from the past hold you back to try and aspire for what really you want to do. So I wish you all the best for whatever you want to do. And I hope you find success. I hope you find joy. I hope you find happiness. So that's all I had. Thank you so much for being a wonderful audience. And thank you so much, NPTEL, for this opportunity to share my experience. I'll pause now and take any questions if there are. Balaji, can I take some questions? Do we have time for a couple of questions?
Sure, sir. We can start the questions report, sir, and you can stop the sharing, sir.
Okay, so just give me a minute. So I'll take a couple of questions. So there are quite a few questions. In the interest of time, I'll take a couple of them. But having said that, my LinkedIn ID is on the presentation. So I'm very happy for us to continue the conversations. If you have anything, you can just ping me and we can get in touch. So there's one question. What advice would you give to someone who is just entering corporate world? So I would say three things, and I think I've summarized that in my presentation also. When you get into the corporate world, when you start off, make sure that you learn as much as you can. You come with whatever may have been your accomplishments, academic accomplishments, come with the mindset to learn and be patient as you begin to pick up the skills and the competencies. Be open to learn from experience of people. Google does not have answers to everything. When you enter the corporate world, you will find a wealth of knowledge and expertise that is built over a period of time by several of your colleagues. That is experience, and that experience is something that it doesn't come in a textbook or on Google. So invest time, have a learner's mindset, and learn as much as you can. Focus your initial years in building competencies, whether it is technology skills, experience skills, product skills, or human skills. The second thing I would say is spend less time on devices and invest more time on people. I know I have said that many times during my presentation, but at the end of the day, I say the future of work is human. You will have to work with people. It is these deep, meaningful relationships that are going to be useful. A lot of times, it's not what you know, but who you know helps. So building that network, making an honest attempt to know people, connect with people, learn from their experiences, find a mentor at the beginning of your career. The third thing I would say is take risks. I always believe there is no failure, there is only learning. And take risks as much as you can. Look at what exists, bring new ideas, challenge anything that has been done. If you believe is not the best way to do it, there's an alternate way. Take risks early in your careers, because the setbacks and failures that will teach you, nothing else will teach you. So take risks. So I will say focus on that. And again, this is my opinion, that don't get so busy with work that you don't get time. This whole mindset of, I have a lot of time, let me just spend working, and I will always have time for other things for later. I think try and achieve that balance from the beginning. The other, I don't know whether it's a career advice, but I'll still leave it because this is something I learned very lately. Invest early, whether it's in your finances, whether it is building skills, whether it's building your network. Try and invest in these things pretty early in your career. Okay. There's a question on. So there's a question: as a fresh graduate software engineer, should one focus more on grinding it out and learning as much as possible, or should focus on maintaining work-life balance and a healthy lifestyle? The former might aid in getting a head start compared to others, but does this really matter in the long run? Focus on learning doesn't necessarily mean that you're grinding it out. When you join a corporate career, you have to focus on learning as much as possible. But that does not mean that you compromise on the balance, on a healthy balance with your health and relationships. A lot of perspectives have changed due to COVID. COVID has sort of reset priorities and perspectives for a lot of people, and people have reflected and introspected on what is really important in life. So I would say that focus on learning, use all the opportunities to learn as much as possible, but do get the balance, because at the end of the day, it is a basket. Career is important, so are relationships, so are things that you like to do. It's a balance. And the earlier you learn to get that balance, the better you will be off. But certainly, there shouldn't be an imbalance. You shouldn't get so busy and sucked up in work that you don't have time for family, that you don't have time for health, don't have time for your hobbies. So start with the balance pretty early in the career. I'll take the last question. I know we are close to time. The question is, in today's day of high competition and almost zero margin error, how do you handle failures? I believe I covered that. But whenever there is a failure, the way I have dealt with it is, it is okay. I mean, I will reflect upon it. I do feel bad when things don't go. And I start with the acknowledgement of failure. Okay, there's something that we wanted to do, but it did not work. But I always tell myself that there's nothing called failure. There's always learning. We decided to do something which probably was different, which was big, and we have to accept that there will be failures every corner. And if you didn't have failures, I mean, when you look back at your career, it has to be a mix of both success and failure. But the important thing is that we introspect and we learn from that failure, learn from that setback, because there is no teacher like failure. Failure teaches us things that no other experience can teach. And I think if you have had a bunch of setbacks and you're able to use that experience, I think it will help you in the longer run. So have the mindset to say, I've had a setback, but what can I learn from it and how can I apply it for the future? So that's something I would suggest. I know we are close to time and there are lots of questions. So Balaji, maybe I could these people could reach out to me. My LinkedIn profile is there. I'm very happy for people to ping me, and I'll do my best to answer as many questions as I can. There are some questions on the certificates. If there is a certificate for this program, I'm not sure, Balaji, you may be able to
no,
answer.
sir, actually, we are not providing any certificates.
Okay. And then there are some specific questions. Again, as I said, I'm happy for you to ping me on LinkedIn and we can have a conversation. So thanks so much again for being a very lovely and a patient audience. I hope you could carry back something that was useful. And I look forward to continuing these conversations on the social media, and wish you all the best.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thanks a lot. I will stop the live now.